Everyone, John here, senior software engineer with 10 years of experience. And today we are building the first laterally Python repository, which is going to be a game. So basically, like, this is an easy day for me. It's kind of a day off. It's a Sunday. So I'm doing something that's a fun kind of like passion project thing. And this stems from Aria's Tale. So Aria's Tale already exists. You can check out ariastale.com, which is a like tabletop role-playing game that's used with generative AI. And so I recently did a session where some cool stuff happened. And this is all tabletop role-playing game world where you're like rolling dice and playing with other people. And then I went and played Smash Bros with my kids, and I thought, wow, what if I could make like a Smash Bros of this? And my mind was just kind of thinking about how to do this. And I thought, well, maybe this would be fun. So that's when I created an issue on the Aria's Tale RPG. I said, well, we can make this Evergreen Arena. So Evergreen is the name of the world where Aria's Tale takes place. Aria is like a character name. Evergreen is like the planet name. Okay. So thinking about this more seriously, I talked to GPT to think about like, how would I build this? So let's say that we're going to do it. Let's talk about how. And Python and JavaScript became the leading candidates. Let me quickly walk you through how that came to be the case. So I would like to make a fighting game similar to Smash Bros, Guilty Gear, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, and so on. It's like a fighting game. What I didn't want to happen was GPT-4 push back and say, hey, I can't like teach you how to copy proprietary code. So like we can't just make a Smash Bros clone. So that's why I listed several examples in this genre. And then I was thinking, how could I simplify this? And so I thought that 2D support would be a way to simplify it. I only want 2D support, and I want to optimize for easy implementation and easily adding more characters. Because when you play Smash Bros, at least when I play Smash Bros, that's one of the delights of the game, is that you're able to like unlock these cool different characters. So there's other things that we could optimize for performance or whatever, but I really wanted these to be the top two. And I said, list the 10 best modern frameworks. So I wanted it to give me a framework because I believe frameworks make application development easier. So even if language A is best, if language B is second best, but language B has a really nice framework, I'm going to go with that. So we could see easily, for example, that Rust as a language would be really high performance and really nice. But are there like well-developed gaming frameworks in Rust? Like, I don't know. On the other hand, a JavaScript or a Python, which we end up going for, we can see that these are not like performance oriented. They're not the first thing you reach for game development. But they have such large communities and such large economies of scale that they have all these frameworks, and not all frameworks are equally good, but like there's frameworks and some of them are really good. Anyway, I didn't try to build in my bias, but that's sort of the mental model that I have and the way that I interpreted the results. But I tried to leave it sort of open-ended. Just give me the best modern frameworks, but also mention their language. I also want to make sure that it's something that I can deal with, right? So it gave me this list of 10. Unity is right up there, the Godot engine, GameMaker, Construct. And it listed these 10, Phaser, and then Pygame down here at the bottom. Recently went to PyCon and saw some cool stuff built with Pygame. So for example, there's Prosamon. Which everything is procedurally generated. It's not the prettiest thing, and that's like kind of intentional because it's like randomly generated overworld tiles. So like these images are randomly generated. So they end up looking weird, but you can build like a full game off of this random generation. You have like randomly generated monsters with randomly generated names and images and abilities and so on. And this made it all the way up to Steam. So shout out to Subaltern Games. I guess this is going to be Esther is the developer. So Esther has a bunch of open source stuff, but this one is, I think, closed source. At least I couldn't find the source for it. Anyway, this was just like a flag in the back of my mind that allowed me to go, oh, okay. Like we could do something with this that is like workable. Okay, reviews are mixed, but it's like really an interesting technical project. I'm not sure that they made this to be like like a commercial game. They just put it on Steam. But it works. It gets up to Steam and they're making money, and so it's a thing that can do the job. Oh, some of the other design goals I came to mind with. I want it to be able to play in a browser. I want it to support multiplayer, ideally multi-platform. So this is like the grand picture, and then we can parse down to MVP from there. But in theory, I'd love to be able to use Windows and Mac, and like someone can play on their phone and they can play a match against somebody who is on a computer or whatever. Oogly booglies, Pokemon lawyers have entered the chat. Yeah, heavily inspired by Pokemon, right? That's funny. Okay, so I knew that this was a capable framework. I knew that this was a capable framework, even though it's mentioned all the way down to 10. You might say, oh, it's 10 out of 10. This has got to be like not a very good framework, right? But I had already known this is like a good framework. And for me, that I was able to say, okay, so if this is good, maybe this stuff's even better, but great. I'm cool with this whole list of 10 from a quality perspective. One thing I wasn't sure is Unity open source. No, it's not. And so Laterally, if you go to laterally.io, you can check the bio and sign up now. Open source is fundamental. You can sign up for free. You can pay stuff to unlock stuff, but the whole thing is open source. Open source is fundamental for Laterally. Aria's Tale is also open source. The GitHub is right there. So Aria's Tale is a community project of Laterally, just to make that clear. So it's like a learning ground, which uses this interesting fantasy narrative kind of game background. But the point of it is to extend the Laterally community beyond just like a couple projects. So there's the Laterally site itself. The Laterally curriculum will tell you to build like blogs. So that's all useful and it's good for learning, but it's kind of boring, right? Okay, you have a website and you have a blog. Like this is kind of boring. So the idea of Aria's Tale was like, let's spice it up a little. Let's have like a fun passion project kind of thing. Okay, so it's a TTRPG first, but then you can view these other game forms. And the question becomes, now that we're taking it seriously, how do we parse it down to MVP? How do we parse it down to MVP? And as I think through this, I realized that something like a Smash Bros is actually non-trivial. So even if we can get the sprites moving around and like punching, maybe player versus player could actually be potentially easier than player versus environment, which is counterintuitive. But the question is, how do I define computer moves? And there seem to be two solutions. One solution is I can have a bunch of really handcrafted logic that says like, when this character is this far from the opponent, he does this move because it's a ranged move or whatever. So that seems really large level of effort to go handcraft all of these characters, right? So for me, that doesn't seem ideal. Maybe someone else loves that. Maybe they love the sort of artisan craftsmanship of making this like really interesting character with complicated business rules. We can visit that in the future, but at a glance, it's not what I'm looking for. The nice thing is you can always come and add that. The other major approach seems to be like an AI-based approach, where you just have a character making random moves, but then it learns to correlate certain moves with certain outcomes that it wants to correlate, like damaging the opponent or winning. And so over time, the AI learns to do that. That's really great. I think it's actually nice and elegant. It's also really complicated, and I don't think it's part of an MVP. So basically, neither of these options look good for a real MVP. So my solution was to actually simplify the game model. And let's not do a fighting game after all. Big sad, right? I want to have a Smash Bros. We're going to have to do that further in the future and pick a simpler game model. Well, what we can do is eliminate movement and reaction time, and take a turn-based approach. So turn-based games, I don't have to worry about timing moves. And then in a classic RPG like a Dragon Quest, I don't even have to worry about, so consider a tactical RPG where it's still turn-based, but I do have to worry about things like distance. In a classic RPG, I don't even have to worry about things like distance or elevation. You basically get like, a few moves and then also items and some standard abilities like defend or run away. And it really simplifies the game. Then you can simplify it further with a TCG, which may just have like one move. Like you just draw a card and then you can like play a card from your hand. So it seems to me, and chat, let me know if you think differently, but it seems to me that these are much easier to implement, basically. And then we can come back, I don't know, in the future maybe and implement that fighting game later. But I'll start with these. So that was my approach to identifying the TCG. I think the TCG is going to be easiest. Also, there's already some affinity with the existing Aria's Tale. So the existing Aria's Tale already has a gallery. And these art can be used for cards. And there's already a store in development where you can buy cards. So basically, there's a lot of affinity. There's a lot of affinity with this TCG approach. So I want to go with the TCG. Okay. And I want to split out these repositories so I'm not cramming all of my game logic into the Aria's Tale RPG. Since I'm splitting out the repositories, it provides the opportunity for me to pick up a new language. Just like hit the computer. Since I'm going to split out the repositories, it provides the opportunity for me to have the second repository in a new language. And you can sort of decouple them, which is going to be nice because games can have a lot of logic. And I want to decouple that from this website. So you can see the approach building up, and Latterly basically recommends that Latterly has historically focused on juniors. And I don't want to do that. I think we've done a good job of like having the content, like there's a checklist of what you can do if you're trying to learn to code and land your first job. And now I want to start entering an era where Latterly focuses on upskilling from junior to senior. And basically specialization is the answer here. I guess I don't even mention specialization in the checklist, do I? Because the checklist ends with landing your role. So there's a different checklist in development, which is a junior to senior checklist, and you can check out the Latterly repository for that. Let's go over there, I guess. Feel free to contribute. If you're already a developer, you might have insight about how to become a senior. More checklists, a junior to senior checklist, and a Python engineer checklist, okay? The problem is the Latterly community does not have any projects for Python at the moment. And what does Python have to do with junior to the senior? So junior to senior, you want to specialize and add some advanced skills. There are like a dozen of these that we recommend. One of them is just learn multiple languages. So if you're fluent in multiple languages, that's a mark that you're closer to senior than junior. And Latterly says that, hey, JavaScript and TypeScript are what you should learn to get that first job. You could technically count that as two languages. I really don't, though, because one's a superset of the other. So there are no interesting syntactic differences that force you to abstract. When you have interesting syntactic differences across languages, like a Python dictionary is interestingly different than a JavaScript hash map, JavaScript object rather, then I'm forced to consider the abstract structure of the hash map. And that's one of the things that makes it a senior skill is you're thinking you're able to telescope between abstract and concrete. It's not just that you know two languages, it's that you can translate between them, which involves this abstraction layer. And ideally, you can compare and contrast, and you can say, well, for this project, this language is better, and here are the reasons why. And that's like, now you're starting to really look like a senior instead of a junior. You see what I mean? Okay, so what second language? And let's suppose that TypeScript doesn't count as a second language. The big debate about best languages for learning, the debate's always JavaScript, Python. These are like the two languages that are considered best for learning. I know there's a bunch of like college programs that teach Java. Java is not thought to be good from a student perspective. Some places just teach it because it's like in demand, basically. So the natural solution here, there's a natural solution, which is to have Python projects in the Latterly ecosystem. Today, those don't exist. Okay, so you see how we're able to knock out, we're building a case to knock out multiple birds with one stone. And the way we knock this out is, here's the list of 10. So then I want it to be open source, and I want it to use JavaScript or Python. Now you see why I'm asking GPT-4 to reduce it to JavaScript or Python. C#, kind of cool. If you already know C#, maybe check out Monogame. I don't know. Java and Kotlin, I actually really like Kotlin, not gonna lie. But I think this is more obscure, and then it doesn't solve as many problems if I were to implement this game in Kotlin. Plus, I want this to be browser-based, I think, as I mentioned. And I don't know of elegant ways to do that, to have a Kotlin browser client app. I just don't know how to do that. Like, if we're talking about a mobile, like Android game, okay, there's some ways to do that with Kotlin. But in the browser, is it just going to like compile to WebGL? I don't know. Here's what I don't want to do is like an old school Java applet, like the original RuneScape. That's not the experience I'm looking for. Okay, so this is how I narrow it down. And basically it gives these 3 results: Phaser, Cocos 2D, and Pygame. And then now I'm looking at who has the bigger community, and it's so Phaser for JavaScript, Pygame for Python. So I'm going to do both of these. I like the idea of implementing the game in both languages, and then you can compare the implementation. I think that's really cool. So here is the Aria's tail issue, and you can see it calls for 7 repos, and these are the first 3. There's the current repo, which already exists, the Pygame, and then TCG and Phaser. So now that we're going to do JavaScript and Python, we're going to do both so we can compare and contrast the implementations. The question is, like, which do we do first? And for the reasons I already gave, basically that we want to expand the language basket of Latterly projects. For that reason, I want to prioritize Pygame first. Plus, as I said, recency bias. I just went to PyCon and saw this presentation and it looked cool. And I'm like, okay, I want to try that. So, and there's even more. There's just cool stuff going on in Python world. There are Cloudflare workers. Okay, so in addition to the previous reasons that I gave for prioritizing Python, there are 2 more. And they have to do with the fact that interesting things are happening in Python world. It's not just about Pygame, although it is about Pygame. So Pygame is recently supported by Pyodide. So Phaser's really cool. We're going to get around to it, but there's nothing like burning and new that makes it super interesting to do right now. Pygame is the Python framework for Python. We already talked about that, right? So now it's like I have the framework. Where am I going to deploy it becomes the question. My typical deployment platform is Vercel. Love Vercel. For Python apps, my typical deployment platform is AWS, which is not a great developer experience. And now we have new options that we can explore. So there is Flight Control. Flight Control is like AWS with better developer experience. There's also Vercel Python functions. And there's also Cloudflare workers. Cloudflare workers use this interesting runtime called Pyodide, which it's just, there's so much I could go into here. I'm going to be brief. Basically, it's cool and new, and I want to try it out. Look at this. It is published January, February, March, April. It was published last month. It's like brand spanking new, Pyodide. And related to this is a technology called PyScript. So PyScript lets you run Python in the browser. Pyodide is a restricted form that has some enhancements, including Cloudflare worker support. And for those enhancements, you make the trade-off that you don't have as broad library support. Well, Pygame, the framework that I'm curious about, I'm like, okay, I'm curious about this. How am I going to deploy it? Is recently supported in both PyScript and Pyodide. And here's the Pyodide issue, and now it's closed. So Pygame is now supported here. Thanks for the follow. Okay, so for all of these reasons, I want to make the Python repo and then figure out like, okay, am I going to be able to use Cloudflare workers or not? So there's like different things I want to discover. So it's a learning journey for me and hopefully educational for the community. And that's why I'm prioritizing this. If I went with the JavaScript way, it would just be another Vercel project, which I love Vercel. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a lower learning level. So it's a little bit less interesting for me. And it's just not as trendy, you know, those are related things. Okay, so we are going to try to use Pygame. So let's go. So now let's actually get to the part where we're doing stuff. And so I'm going to start by making a new repository. Thank you for the follow. If you think this is interesting, tap like so the algorithm will send it around. Rust is better. Yeah, Rust is great. Rust is great, but I don't think it's a beginner-friendly language. Also, there's not that many jobs. There's not that many jobs. So check out Rust developer. 25 plus jobs. Now let's go for Python developer. 1,000 plus jobs. So do you see why what we're optimizing for? So Laterally is an educational platform that helps you land your first or next job. So the focus is always on what's going to be helpful to the economy, to people who want to get a job, to people who want to learn valuable skills, not just technically interesting skills. That's playing a factor. As I said, today's a Sunday. It's kind of like we get to weigh that more heavily than usual. But there's still limits, and a factor of 40 is not going to do it for me. Factor of 40 is not going to do it for me. Rust is really cool, though. Don't get me wrong. Okay. So I'm making this repository. It's going to be called Aria's Tale TCG Python description. It's public, adding the README, picking Python, MIT. Jake says, my dad is a project manager with some chip design and cybersecurity expertise. What should he expand into? I think a project manager for cybersecurity is just fine. What does he need to expand for? Is that not, that would be a fine long-term career, wouldn't it? Okay, so now this repository exists. You can go check it out. Here, I'm going to clone it. The first thing we're going to do is write up a README so that we don't lose the design. Prioritize design, prioritize design, prioritize design. Juniors sleep on design, I'm telling you. The seniors in the chat know what's up. They know that, like, yeah, you need to get the design has value. You should invest significant time in the design. Yes, there are two-way doors. We can change it. If things go wrong, I can burn the whole repo and make a new one. But wouldn't it be really nice if we just take a little bit more time to drastically boost our odds that we get this thing right? So here's Aria's Tale TCG Python. I'll close these other docs, open up the README. He needs H-1B sponsorship. Ah, I see the trouble. Unfortunately, I don't know how to help with that. It's really rough right now for H-1B holders. I mean, it's rough for everyone, but it's going to impact them worse, right? Supply and demand. Here's a solution to the supply and demand problem. If you're able, lower your price. Lower your price. So lowering your price or your salary requirement is a cheat code to boosting your demand, because just picture a supply and demand graph. If you reduce your price, you're increasing your demand. So I don't know if the, yeah, I mean, you could switch out of cybersecurity into, you could consider a broader basket of just like InfoSec, where like maybe there's like authorization, but we're not doing red team, blue team. Like there's not actual audits. It's just like, I need to hook up my authentication kind of thing. Maybe that would allow you to access some more roles. You could look at general IT instead of cybersecurity in particular. There are places you can go. There are places. Look, you can just generalize to just, hey, I had this specialization in cybersecurity and I'm just leaving it because I need a job. and I'm going to take a step back. Maybe I was like a senior person, and I'm going to step back to mid-level because it allows me to generalize and access more jobs, even though it's a lower price point. So if you really need the H-1B, that's an option you can mention to, who did you say this is? Your dad, right? You just like get out of cybersecurity. I mean, he has years of experience and he has a job, but they are delaying his green card. Yeah, I hear you. And what I'm saying is in the market today, so like I have the years of experience to be a staff level engineer. But the problem is that in the market today, there's a huge supply of competition that also has those years of experience, and they're competing for a lower number of jobs. So even though I have quote unquote enough in terms of the job description requirement, I don't effectively have enough at the end of the day once you consider the competition. I'm not going to be the optimal choice for the employer. So what's the choice that I can do? I just back off the staff level. I say, fine, I'll go senior level for now. That's, or I lower my price point, or I consider other job families where it's like, I usually go full stack, but maybe I'll go back to front end for a while. Maybe I'll go straight back end. Maybe I'll do Python developer. Hopefully that was helpful. If that was helpful, throw some likes on the video. Can't believe we're still 0 on TikTok. Bummer. Usually TikTok is the home team. Okay, here's the README. Tech stack and related projects. So we're going to make sure that this is noted as related to ariastl.com. And let's also have design goals. Design goals. We'll say long run, short run. Thank you so much. And thanks for the follow. There's something called the iron triangle. Whenever you're designing a solution, you can have a high quality solution, a high cost solution. High quality, high cost. You can have it fast, cheap, or high quality, and you can pick 2. In an enterprise solution, I usually accept the high cost and I deliver it fast with high quality. Here, I cannot do the high cost thing. So it's going to be low cost. So do I want it to be delivered fast or do I want it to be delivered with quality? I want both. This is impossible according to the iron triangle. So what do? We make a short run, long run trade-off. In the short run, I'll deliver it fast with low quality, and then I'll work on quality over time. That's how I can have high quality in the long run at a low price point. So in the long run, we have more features, and in the short run, we have fewer features. It's basically lower quality. PVE feature. That's pretty much all we get. Web-based, or browser-based experience, PVE support. And then I'll order these. So that's basically all we're going to go for in the short run. Is your door closed? Sam, get in your room and close the door. It's nowhere near the end of nap time. It's nowhere close, man. Oh, is nap time over? It started 24 minutes ago. Okay. So the design goals, I want it to be an alternative. It should be an educational tool. In addition, it is intended to be web-based and educational. Okay, so that's to do forthcoming. So I want to integrate user accounts for collection and achievement features with ariastail.com. And then 2, eventually enable PvP support. And then 3, with the lowest priority, but still some priority, yeah, mainly mobile. Which we might get for free, but if we don't get it for free, then I'm not going to spend time on it, basically. We will anchor to the Chrome browser. Cool. What is this tech stack? So tech stack, considering either PyScript or Pyodide. This is the word I keep forgetting. Does Pygame have a capital G? I think the whole thing is lowercase. Yeah, it's all lowercase. So if you go here, and then if you say new here, they say, PS, we spell color with a U, and we always spell Pygame with lowercase letters. Okay, so Pygame, we'll link that. Let's make that a 2. Even though really we wanted to pick the framework before we picked the language, but we'll go ahead and put it in this order. So I don't want to get stuck maintaining like a gross server, and that it's like, I have a Heroku account just for a Python server. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'll do it for Cloudflare workers if I can do Pyodide. That's really the one reason I'll do that. Otherwise, I'm going to prefer Vercel. And then I'll go to flight control, frankly, only if Vercel isn't working for some reason. This is all looking good. Let me link the Pyodide article. Okay, so here, design. So we spent what, 30 minutes, if even. Okay, the truth is that it's been a couple hours in total because I was kind of thinking through design before I even started the stream. So I've spent like a couple hours of like brain time, but I don't know. It's like not that much time. It's not that much time to write out the README, and then writing out the README itself to get those notes on paper was like 15 minutes or something. Totally worth it. Because I could have the design in my head, but I might lose it and forget it tomorrow. And even if it's in my head, I want to share it with other people too, right? So the design time and then the writing it in the README time, you could split those. They're like somewhat distinct tasks. So here, oh, and the other thing that I want to do is prioritize LLM interop. And this is another reason that this is a current project and a relevant project now, because GPT-4o is out. GPT-4o has a longer context window that would not have been feasible before. And so I asked it, and so what I would like to do to maximize the interop with GPT-4o, this is going to sound really crazy, but it's what I want to do if possible, is try to get the entire game in one file. I want to try to get the entire game in one file. And there are some exceptions to that. If I create a game where basically the whole thing is in one file, except items are imported, characters are imported, maybe levels are imported. So the main file would be aware of those schema, but it doesn't need all of the definitions, but it has enough that GPT-4o can like understand the game. I think that works. But I want to try to get almost the entire game in a single file so that I can have it within the GPT-4o context window. Because a difficult problem with these LLM interop today, if you consider like a commercial enterprise setting, is that it cannot comprehend your whole code base. It can't comprehend your whole code base, and the mapping between files really confuses it. Like this file imports that file. What if I'm using a relative statement? Like it gets really confusing. All of that GPT cognitive overload is eliminated if the game's in one file. So I'm going to try to do that. And so I asked GPT-4 before committing to Pygame, can we build a game in Pygame with a single file? And it said yes, and it made me one. So let's check this out. I'm pretty sure this is a very different game, but we'll try this out as our initial commit. We'll use poetry as well. I mean, that's fine. Do I want poetry? I want to deploy this game on Cloudflare Python workers. Should I use Hatch or poetry or something else? Do I need a build chain at all? We're going to use Wrangler. That makes sense. So let's just try doing the game locally for now, and then we'll attach it to Wrangler as a second step. So I guess I will want. So can I use my TOML file? It's going to use a TOML file here. Cool. That will be ideal if I can put the dependencies in a TOML file and then Wrangler picks up the same TOML file later. That'll be ideal. This is weird, right? Set up your TOML file to point to your Python entry file, and it says type JavaScript. Is that right? Let's check on that. Yeah, it does not have type JavaScript. It does not have type JavaScript. Samples, Pyodide. Here's samples. Pyodide, fast API. Okay, sure. Has this config file. I should probably also confirm that the workers are free. Cool. So we have like free limits. That's good. Awesome. Thanks, Cloudflare. Zachary, do you have the premium plan for ChatGPT? Yes, absolutely. Highly, highly recommend it. Thanks for being here, by the way. Well, on the one hand, I just want to run the project, but to run the project, I need to install. Oh, I think the part that I'm missing in my brain is that Pyodide now includes Pygame. Hey, y'all need to close your doors and go to bed. You need to close your door and go to bed, Sam. Hey, John, how's it going? Going pretty well. How are you? So this is here, but why? Oh, maybe it's because it's in PyScript. Let's see. Is this doc just out of date? My 2-year-old just finally knocked out for her nap. 4-year-old still fighting it. Yeah, it's a problem. Yours are 2 and 4, mine are 3 and 5. How's the job search going? It's going really well. Just passed some first round interviews, gearing up for second and third rounds in the coming weeks. Thanks for asking. Okay. So this says that it's solved. Made some large progress. I think I can open a PR soon. Here's some demos. Trouble rendering font. Excuse me. It's AD, by the way. Cool. Yeah, good to see you. You got a new account or what? What am I looking at? All right. Well, the performance is good. That's nice. Cool. So it's got audio, it's got control to WASD, and up, down, left, and right are working, as well as mouse and click. So this stuff is working. The stuff is working. That's good news. But like, what am I looking at? Oh yeah, I need to look at the underlying repository. That's what I need to know. They're using Selenium for testing. Oof. So here's a meta YAML. Yeah, I think it's just not listed. So I think this page is just like out of date or something. January, February, March, April. Oh, as of April 2. It could have just been merged after that. I think that's the issue. Well, I don't know. It was merged March 11. This is working with Python 3.8, 8, 9, and 10. That's nice. Let's see. Maybe I should avoid Pyodide if it's sort of support is unclear. So this is PyDide. Let me just make a comment here. Sam, who are you talking to? I'm talking to myself. Turn off the light, go in your room, and close the door. Okay. So run in PyDide, and it specifies the package this way. That's interesting. So maybe I'll just be able to do this and kind of guess that it works. So we can do that, but the question is, how do I set up my dependencies? How do I set up my dependencies? And GPT-4o is, I think, wrong about this. No build chain needed. Using PyDide within Cloudflare workers eliminates the need for a build chain. Okay, so I can just sort of like use it directly. So then I need to locally install PyDide is basically all I need to do, I think. Available as a CDN. Let's try that. So then I can just put my Python right in the browser, I guess. So it's included in 251. It's included in 251. Oh, by the way, if you're on TikTok and if you're having trouble seeing the whole screen, you can check my bio and see YouTube or Twitch, and you'll be able to see the whole screen. Index HTML. So what do they have over here? So it's still like a web page. So instead of a build script and dependencies, I can have an index file with a CDN. That's cool. Okay, let's do one of those. RSTL TCG Python. Okay, so over here, I guess I'll make it index.html. Who'd have thought? And now I'll put some Python in here. So here, I'll close this, close, and then I'm going to kind of copy this basically. And so they're using a CDN here. PyScript.net releases using sort of an older one. But I'll basically copy this. And I'll try to clean this, and I'll try to clean this up. So I don't have CSS, so I'll get rid of that. The script this script tag bootstraps PyScript. Jonathan Scruggs, what are you working on? We're trying to make a Py game in the browser, like a trading card game, a TCG. So I guess I'll release that one. Let me come over here. I want this. This is going to be Pyodide. Here's a REPL to the Pyodide, and let's see. Can I pip list? Okay, can I import? How do I import? How come you didn't go with JavaScript for the game? I covered that earlier in the stream, so this stream will be saved on YouTube. Feel free to go back and review that. The basic answer is that Laterally already has a bunch of JavaScript projects. So I wanted to start working on Python development. And there's this new thing called Pyodide, which allows hosting in a Cloudflare worker. And I wanted to try that out. Okay, so here's the game. Where's the example? Too many tabs, eh? Let's ask GPT-4 and see if it understands. Okay. I have Pyodide in my browser via CDN. How can I import a package? Okay. This seems reasonable. All right, let's try this. So PyScript and Pyodide are going to have slightly different syntax. So this section has class PyScript, and we're using .main. Oh, and it has a TOML file too. Let me read that. And what is the name of this package? The name of the package is pygame-ce. Import pygame-ce. Oops, CE. Import pygame. Right. Import fast API. That's interesting. In a pyodide REPL, how can I import Fast API? Currently, Fast API is not directly supported. Well, I think it is. So it looks, well, GPT-4o is slightly out of date here, is what I think is going on. I keep needing to look this up, so I guess I better hold a reference to it. Oh, no, it's not supported. What about Flask? What do we have here? What is going on? This is like a whole different, this is like a whole different list. Packages built in pyodide. Okay. Oh, because he responded that fast. Okay. That's good. Pygame CE. So the Python worker includes pyodide, but it has more than pyodide. That's the piece that I was missing. Okay, so the Python worker on Cloudflare can support Fast API, but not via pyodide. It's just like a sibling. Okay. So what to do with that? And it has SQLite. That's interesting. So what to do with that? Well, let's prioritize the pyodide. And so the REPL is actually not a pyodide REPL. It's a Cloudflare REPL. Okay. So I just won't use that Cloudflare thing. This. Well, it's at pyodide.org. Can I import this? That works. Okay, so these packages, this is the stable version. So I guess the stable version is kind of like slightly old or something. Let me try latest. Let me try latest. So instead of stable, we'll go to latest. And here, import Pygame. We got Pygame. I'm noticing this says Python 3.12. Okay, so I might need to bump my Python. That's not a big deal though. I'm happy to support supporting ancient versions of Python is not a design goal at all. So maybe I should mention that as an anti-goal or like non-goal. So what are we doing now? Now we have this console where I can see Pyodide has Pygame. Okay. So no build step is needed. I can directly import Pyodide into HTML via CDN. Well, I can directly import PyScript, but can I directly import Pyodide? That's what I now need to know. Keep a link to the PyScript. So for now, I'm going to pursue Pyodide, and I will fall back into PyScript if Pyodide has some sort of issue. So here's the Pyodide CDN. I want to use this. So I'll comment PyScript. we'll make the title RSTL TCG Python. Comment the favicon because we don't have one. And instead of PyScript, I will load PyODide. I don't know if I want the trailing slash, but we'll see. Okay, so I have PyODide loaded. Now what am I going to do? It's like so much stuff that I don't need. So I want to investigate the main.py. And I want to see like how are they connecting it to. I guess they're connecting it through the canvas. So this section says class. Now I'll look at their TOML file. It's a whole lot of nothing here. Okay. Whoa. That's cool. PyWeb, PyDOM. Okay. PyDOM has got to be the sauce. So here comes the canvas. That's how they do it. Okay. So the binding happens Python side, which makes total sense. You can do eager binding or late binding, and this is a late binding pattern, but it's a Python late binding pattern. So the equivalent in JavaScript would be like you're in a JavaScript function and you say document.getElementById. And so prepare canvas. How do you get a reference to the canvas though? I hope it's not just through the fact that you had class PyScript. That would be quite disturbing to me. PyDOM hash Mandelbrot. Yeah, so it's literally a get element by ID. It's literally get element by ID. So it gets this Mandelbrot and then it finds a canvas HTML. So I like that. So this is like a CSS selection. Nice. Not gonna lie, I kind of like it. Oh, it feels weird. It feels weird to like the Python. It feels like this is something that should be a JavaScript function. Okay. There's like canvas.style display none and everything. That's so wild. So I want to do the equivalent here and get a reference to a canvas, and I'll put the game in the canvas. Makes sense, right? So my HTML file needs a canvas. That's all I need. So here I have an HTML file. I need to have a section with a canvas. Here I can see there's 3 canvases, and I don't want 3. Loading, loading, loading. Okay. I'll just keep the Mandelbrot one. So we'll get rid of Julia. We'll get rid of Newton. Loading, loading, loading. Ah, feels so much better. Now my page feels so much smaller and more good. That's what I was going for. It felt like it just had too much stuff that I don't need, you know? This app header, don't really need this either. This logo, don't need this. Here is a title. I can just have like a H1, right? I don't have, oh, I already have an H1 in a dialogue. So let's drag this into Chrome now. I'm going to right click and copy the path, and then I'll go over to Chrome, Command T, Command V, enter. We have this Mandelbrot set loading. I don't see a dialogue. Is this a dialogue element? The whole page is supposed to be a dialogue element. Top layer, it says. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. So we'll get rid of the dialogue. And this will, and then we'll change the title. So now you're the one true H1 to rule them all. Hope you're liking the video. If you're liking the video, consider subscribing, liking, sharing with a friend. And this will be Aria's tail TCG Python. Let's do some snakes in here. We just call this canvas wrapper, game wrapper. So we're inside of the section already. So we're in the PyScript section. I think I have no need for this text, which should definitely be a p tag or a heading. I think I have no need for this. I think I have no need for this layer. So this will just be a canvas container. Cool. So we're under 100 lines. We love to see it. I really don't need a spinner. Whatever, I'll leave it. It's a loading indicator. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, where's my main.py? So let me make a main.py. Oh, the black on black is not good. Aria's tail, TCG, here's app header. There's no app header CSS. Okay, so I'll make a folder and I'll call this app. Move my index file in there. I'll make a new file, which is index.css. Here I'll make an app header. And then I just need my two main components of every web app, which is apparently CSS and Python. Do not use empty rule sets. Okay, chill, bro. We're going to get there. Let's keep, what is this background color? I don't know. No, I want something lighter. Text align, center. Cool. Cut out this style, put it in here. And then here, I can just link okay. Here I need to say app/now, and I have my new heading. Whoa. So now I have my new heading. That's good. That spinner is good. I'm gonna lose my mind about that spinner. Cannot read properties of null reading show modal. Let's not have a spinner. Can we just not do that? Get element by ID loading. Let's move all of the CSS to the CSS file. Here I'll just have to do favicon. Yeah. So I got rid of this thing. Loading show modal. So we don't have that. We'll just use like some loading text. I think that's fine. We're under 50 lines now. Love to see it. Get rid of this inline style that we're overriding anyway. This inline style, we can move to the CSS file. So this is going to be canvas container container. Is that necessary? I don't think so. So we'll just put this on the PyScript class. If I need another level of DOM, I'll add it later. Okay, so we just put it on the PyScript class. How's it looking? Looking pretty good? I think it's looking pretty good. Okay, one issue that I do still see is this. It was complaining about accessing that CDN, but we'll take care of that separately. Now my spinner is still here. What is it grabbing? It's grabbing loading, I think. Loading. We don't need a hash loading. We just got a dot loading. Okay. We'll give this a margin auto. Now it's in the center. At least be in the center. Come on, have some mercy. Have some mercy on me. Display flex. And then what's going on over here? It's still like, okay. It's still like the wrong width. Like it's not going all the way across the screen. I hate spinners so much. This with 100% because PyScript is, okay. So I'll do the margin auto on you. All right, that's at least tolerable. So let me move the margin auto, and then you don't need to have an inline block display. Let me move the margin auto to PyScript. Oh, sorry, I guess you did. I guess I needed it at both levels. My fault. CSS rules are all out of order, whatever. Okay, so this I should commit, and I can deal with the CDN things separately. Here's a feat, initial commit. So here I am, and I have a 403 forbidden. Yep, if I access it, literally I have a forbidden. If I drop the slash, I have a forbidden. Okay. Just over CDN. I think I just need to use a different syntax. I'm not going to be able to say the name, sorry. How's it going? Welcome from Twitch. Brow. Okay, that's much easier. Good to see you. Oh, is it a country thing? What are the plans? We are trying to make a Python game in the browser. So if I go here, it says blocked. But what if I get rid of the CDN part? Can't be reached. Hey, I wonder if I can kick them out of chat. Sam, close your door. Close your door. Okay, I blocked them in Restream. I don't know if that blocks them in Twitch or not. So we're getting this forbidden error on JS DOM. Twitch is going crazy. I don't know what's going on over there. All right, well, I just killed the Twitch stream because there was someone was spamming saying some inappropriate things. All right. Package user repo is blocked. Please refer to the www. Okay, so cdn.js deliver is not blocked necessarily. All right. I think it's cores. I think cores is my issue. It says it like any of these will succeed, but I would like to have an example, please. No way. Just has it load like this. It's just the type module is causing trouble. All right, well, I can get this thing. That's awesome. It's literally Python as a subroutine of JavaScript. Node domination, node supremacy. So I'm not getting the forbidden comment at this point. Hey, hey.
Are they actually quiet?
No, I don't think they slept at all. Was it just the module thing? So it's loading now? Let's see. If it's loading now, I should be able to do some of the codes. Hello World Python worker. Is that how I pointed the function name? I keep closing that thing and then I need to open it back up. Ugh. So here we are with the example. The PyScript just says files like this. But how is main attached? It's done like this. Okay, so this is going to be PyScript. I guess the PyDide way and the PyScript way are slightly different. So using PyDide, here's this. Let's run Python. Okay, so PyDide is going to literally run Python as a subroutine. Which is maybe okay, except how do I import my Python into here? Do I get it as a static file? On click evaluate Python. Okay, so this is pretty different actually. How do I turn off the noise from Slack? Mute site. There we go. Okay. So I could just get the text of my Python script and run it, I guess. That seems like there would be a build step needed. If you need to, if you want to at compile time, put your Python in the DOM.
You don't get to, Sam. I told you to be quiet, Sam. When you can be quiet. I'll tell you when it's time to get up.
I guess I don't care too much. As long as I get to put my logic in the Python, then I don't care if I need to move it into the DOM. It just feels kind of hacky. And this is pretty different. So what Pyodide is saying is pretty different than what Cloudflare is saying. Cloudflare is saying, hey, you can just point at this Python file, which is like cleaner, right? So do I need to switch to PyScript now? Let me try to pass a Python script by name. Can I pass a Python script by name to Pyodide? Await fetch my script. Okay. So we're just going to use fetch and get the text. I guess that's fine. It's cleaner than like dumping it into your HTML. Although it's slower, isn't it? It's slower. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do this. That's fine. There's @Python code. So we have our text content. We loaded it from @Python code. And where's @Python code? Guess right here. So I do need to build this file. I need a step where this HTML file is the output. I guess I don't know, like, why would I use Hatch instead of poetry? We were talking about this recently at the company, but I don't think the same logic applies. So in that case, I actually want to build a Python library. In that case, I want to actually build a Python library. In this case, I don't. We're not building a Python library. So I think poetry is fine. Who has the larger user base? Simple Python script. Yeah, it's right about that. Like, we don't need to use either. We don't need to use either. I'm thinking about dev tools. I'm thinking about Python dev tools. At some point, I'm going to want Python dev tools. So we can add poetry at that time. Okay. Yeah, but it's saying that I can just use the pyproject.toml for dependency management. That's true. So maybe I don't need poetry either. Why do I like poetry? I like it for the virtual environment. Then we can just use a virtual, like Venv. So you're either installing Venv or you're installing poetry. I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So for now, I will minimize dependencies and try to just use Python. So we'll take this build approach. That's fine. So now let me add usage. Drag and drop the index.html file into a browser. Build Python build.py. Seems pretty simple. And if we need to, we can always move the file. Source dist makes more sense. So app dist. So we'll do both of these. Okay. This will be step 2. Drag and drop the dist indexed HTML file into the browser. That seems like a pretty normal workflow. Dist index HTML file into a browser. So we can call that source. So now I have a build.py. what does script.py do? Okay, this is going to be the game. Okay. So it's main.py. Get rid of some of these comments that I don't need. Here is my template file HTML. It doesn't matter. I don't need to tell it that. Okay, so script.py, I can just change it to be called main.py. So build, instead of script, we're going to say main, and it's going to be source main. Okay, and then this will be index template.html. That's fine. We'll call it a template, index template.html. So the key is to have this placeholder. Within, yeah, type pyodide. Okay, this makes sense. I guess it needs to be placed after we load pyodide.
Get in your room, Ellie, right now. And close the door. Y'all aren't listening, so we're not going to the pool. You ruined it. Listen to me. I said you guys both need to nap quietly and sleep. Didn't I? And you guys have not done that. We'll try again tomorrow, but for now, no. This is why it's important to follow instructions, guys. If I tell you you have to do something to get something else, you don't just get to do it even if you didn't listen.
Okay, so I think this works. Now I'll have a get ignore. Does it have dist in here? It already has dist in here. Okay, great. So here I will Python build. Okay, so now it created index. I want it to create dist. Okay. I guess the comments are fine. So we just have kind of 3 larger blocks. Okay, so we're copying this path. And now we put it here. How do we get that greet function? So here's my greet function. It's interpreted in to web. So it should be printed down here, I think. Load pyodide is not defined. Why is that not defined? Is it mad that I didn't put it in the head script? I guess we can try that. It really shouldn't need to be over there, right? Let me try specifying the JavaScript file. Okay, so if I specify the JavaScript file, it seems to load. Oh, and I have an indentation error. Isn't that great? You know it's real Python when you get that indentation error. So what is causing an indentation error here? Hey, Ellie, can you quit kicking whatever you're kicking? I don't know what she's doing up there. Let's see, I wonder if it's this. Okay. Hey, hello, Pyode. Pyode died. So the indentation error was coming from the HTML document formatting. That's just the sort of janky thing that I don't like the idea of Python and JavaScript for reasons like that. Okay. Now that gives me whatever. That gives me hello Pyodide, but it doesn't give me what I want because I can't get the game package. It's still a JavaScript file at the end of the day, isn't it? pyodide.asm.js. So now what do I want to do? Well, I can try importing the package over here. I can try importing the game. Let's try that. Here's the basic Py game. Now, does this impact the DOM somehow? What is this? Import Pygame could not be resolved. Right. So some of the dev tools are going to have to get changed to understand this workflow. This is different. And this is where it's helpful that GPT-4o has a longer context window. So I can say, consider our Pygame script from earlier. How can I attach this to the canvas in my index file? Pygame itself cannot directly run in the browser. See, I think it's wrong about this. It's gonna rewrite the whole thing to use JavaScript now, isn't it? So let's see what it's done over here. Got rid of a line break. That's fine. Gave an ID to the game canvas, width and height. That sounds good to me. Okay, so I think that's fine. Loading micropip, loaded. Can't find pure Python 3 wheel for Pygame. Okay, it's Pygame-CE. Can't find pure Python 3 wheel for Pygame-CE. Maybe it's not a wheel. The Python package name is Pygame-CE, not Pygame. Micropip is failing to find a wheel. Let's try to load it without treating it as a wheel. Should we use load package or micropip? Cool. Okay, so let's try it this way. We'll grab the whole script. No known package with name Pygame-CE. Load pyodide is not defined. How is load pyodide not defined? This is not computing for me. Mehdi on YouTube, how's it going? Thanks for being here. Can you guide me for getting a remote job? Maybe. You can check out latterly.io, and there's a checklist, standard checklist. You can also come over to the Discord and feel free to ask questions. So it previously did not complain about load package. This is a new complaint. What did I change so that it started complaining this way? Load pyodide is not defined at main. I'm going to copy this on my clipboard and then revert this file. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I guess so. I'm going to copy this on my clipboard and revert this file. Then we'll build. And it complains about no module pygame. No module pygame. So it's just trying to run the script. Yeah, but it did not complain about load pyodide. And if I change the script to, right, if I revert that, then it will run the greeting fine. Here, I'll just comment it all. Print foo. Yeah. So the import is working fine here. Ah, the indentation changed again. Maybe that was it. I keep forgetting about that indentation thing. So that's like if that fixes it, that's like a note I should write down. No known package with Pygame CE. That's okay. Pygame CE. I'm only trying to confirm the load pyodide thing is working right now. So it says foo. If you format the HTML file, this might break Python because indentation. So remove any white space around. Cool. Okay, so it's not complaining about load pyodide now. Yeah, I don't know why it was complaining about that sort of temporarily there. So I think I should try to find the example where this guy like made a Pygame CE thing. What am I looking for? Tips for DSA. Yep. Yeah, you can look at latterly.io and go to the blog article number 3. So again, the checklist here is for free. That'll help you learn to code and land a job. And for DSA in particular, oh, yeah, article number 3 is the late code kata. So what do I want to do? I want to, this is like a pyode issue. I want to load this package. So I don't think there's going to be anything on this page that tells me how to do that. Oh, this is still open on the Pygame side. So they got Pygame into pyodide. This is a bigger issue though. My upstairs neighbor here. I don't know if y'all are able to hear that. That was pretty loud though. Okay. This is interesting. So he's saying that he doesn't expect this wheel to be runnable. In Pyodide. Game loop would not be optimal in Pyodide. Set timeout instead of request animation frame. So the current issue is that I'm having trouble importing Pyodide. This says packages in Pyodide as of version 26.0.dev. But what about the one? So I could just be bringing in the wrong Pyodide. So I have 25.1. So Pygame is not in 25. Here it is. Okay, so I just bring in the, so 0260 dev 0. 0260 dev 0 is not found. That's okay. 0260 dev 0. It's just called latest right now. Okay, so can I put latest in here? Can I just put latest in here? Dev is the word. Loading Pygame. It loaded. Okay, so we loaded Pygame, and we said foo. What I'm not sure about is why does it keep doing that instead of whatever? It doesn't matter. But the docs were mentioning this URL. And that's when I get the thing is not defined. I guess I can mention a note about it. Is there a way to like make a comment on this? Okay. So here, now we're using dev. Let's just make sure it works one more time and I'll go commit it. Cool. So this is the load Pygame. So now we have Pygame in the browser through Pyodide, Pygame in the browser through Pyodide. And the question now is, can we get the Python script to work? So yeah, let's do one of these. Bum, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum. Create image data is having an issue. That got pretty far. That was kind of cool. Okay, so some issue is occurring here. Where's the canvas? Pygame display update. Create image data. So I think it's like unable to write to canvas because it doesn't have a canvas reference. Pygame is now running. Ta-da! The game we made fails in the browser because it is not connected to a canvas. Let me double check that one more time. Here's canvas, get element by ID, Pyodide global set. Yeah. I think that's right. So we only use this once. This is like the old code, basically. Maybe I never took the new one. While running, and this one uses a canvas? Okay. Did it just change the game? I mean, that's fine. I'm just trying to get some kind of hello world game. Some kind of running game? Sure, why not? Pyodide is not defined. So Pyodide does not exist in this context. The game we made fails in the browser because Pyodide is not in the Python script context. Okay, this is apparently what it thinks was missing. Fuse Code Forces, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Good to see ya. Debuggability here is a real pain point. Pyodide has suffered a fatal error. Please report this to the Pyodide maintainers. Okay. All right. Well, we'll make a issue for that and then wrap the stream on that. And then when we come back, we might try a PyScript approach without Pyodide. Or we'll revisit this GitHub issue and maybe they will have fixed it. We'll see. So what's the issue here? Three dot 1.1.3. Zero dot 26.0.dev0. 0.26.0.dev0. Awesome. Okay, so that's correct. All right, I have a feeling it's time to get the kids some food because they've been acting kind of crazy, and I think food would help. So with that, we're going to wrap up. Here again is the open source repository. Today we tried Pyodide. That was a lot of fun. We ran into some issues, logged some bugs. Hope that helps the development of Pyodide and Pygame CE. Next time around, we'll try PyScript. That's the current state of things. So currently, it's not looking like we can't use the Cloudflare workers today. but maybe we can use them in the near future. I don't know. We'll see. Next time we'll take a crack at Vercel and maybe go over to AWS as well. I want to get the literal SHA. Here's the SHA. Cool. All right. Hope this was fun for you. Hope you'll follow the page.